It all started on a calm Saturday morning when I grabbed my fishing rod, a thermos of coffee, and headed down to the lake behind my house, a peaceful spot nestled within our upscale, tightly regulated neighborhood governed by the infamous and often overbearing homeowners association. I had been fishing there for years, ever since I moved in 5 years ago after retiring early from my software engineering job. It was a personal tradition, one that connected me to my late grandfather, who taught me to fish as a child. That morning, like so many before, I sat under the willow tree, the mist still dancing over the water, and felt the serenity wrap around me. But that peace was shattered 2 days later when I received a large manila envelope on my doorstep. Inside was a $500 fine issued by the HOA for unauthorized fishing activity. I was stunned, since when was fishing unauthorized? I pored over the HOA manual, page by page, but found nothing indicating that fishing was banned. Furious and confused, I marched to the next HOA meeting and was met with smug faces and cold glares. "Fishing disturbs the lake's natural balance," said Marjorie Caldwell, the HOA president, a woman with too much power and too little empathy. And that rule was added as an emergency provision last quarter. No notice. No vote. Just a sudden restriction buried in their minutes. I protested, told them how much that lake meant to me, but they dismissed me with bureaucratic coldness. That night, still seething, I poured a scotch and dug deep into the property records of the lake. And that's when I discovered something the HOA hadn't counted on: the lake didn't belong to them. It was technically owned by a private trust, an aging family who inherited the land decades ago and was quietly looking to sell. It took me less than a week to reach out, and after several polite phone calls, a property survey, and a financial offer that was generous but reasonable, I bought the lake. The entire thing. I owned the water, the fish, the land around it, and the boat dock. I legally recorded the deed, and within 72 hours, I installed new signage around the lake that read, "Private property. No trespassing. Fishing by owner's invitation only." It didn't take long before the neighborhood exploded in uproar. HOA board members stormed my front porch demanding to know what I was doing. I smiled, showed them the deed, and reminded them that they had fined me for fishing in a lake I now owned. The irony was delicious. I told them fishing was now banned for everyone, just like they had wanted. Within days, my phone rang non-stop. Parents were angry their kids couldn't swim or fish anymore. Joggers complained about the signs ruining their Lakeview route. The HOA called an emergency meeting, which I didn't attend. Instead, I sat on my dock with a line in the water, enjoying the silence. Eventually, the HOA tried to counter with legal threats, but their lawyers quickly discovered that I was within my full rights as a private landowner. The lake had never been designated as public, and their emergency rule had backfired. Marjorie Caldwell came herself to try and talk me down, wearing a false smile and offering to renegotiate access. I declined. For months, the neighborhood suffered without the lake. Property values around it dipped. Morale sank. The HOA's credibility crumbled. Neighbors who once sided with the board began siding with me, whispering apologies and offering baked goods in exchange for a chance to fish again. Slowly, I began granting access, but only to families and individuals who treated me with respect and had never supported the fine. I created a guest list and issued laminated passes. Children who used to wave at me on my morning walks were welcomed back with open arms. The lake, once policed by petty rules, became a haven of peace once again, on my terms. I planted flowers around the bank, restored a canoe, and even installed solar lights along the dock. I turned it into a sanctuary. Meanwhile, the HOA, desperate to save face, started rolling back their more aggressive policies across the neighborhood. They reduced fines, held community votes again, and even removed Marjorie as president. She moved out 6 months later, citing toxic neighbor dynamics. No one mourned her departure. I became something of a legend in the neighborhood, half pariah, half folk hero. But I didn't care. I didn't do it for revenge, although that was a sweet side dish. I did it to stand up for myself, for the principle that people should not be bullied by self-important bureaucrats who wield rules like weapons. My fishing rod was my sword, and the lake was my castle. I protected it. I reclaimed it. And in doing so, I reminded an entire community that power doesn't always lie in titles or boards or arbitrary rules, it lies in knowing your rights and having the courage to act. Sometimes, when the sun dips low and the water glows gold, I sit alone at the end of the dock, my line lazily dangling in the water, and smile. Not because I won, but because I was never truly fighting to begin with. I was just fishing.